Imagine a future in which abundant energy could be ours, simply by harnessing the wind, or capturing sunlight, or tapping into the heat of the Earth itself. In the wake of the Gulf oil disaster, calls for cleaner, greener energy are growing louder.
Now is the moment for this generation to embark on a national mission to unleash America's innovation and seize control of our own destiny.
But if that rallying cry sounds strangely familiar, that's because it is.
Move beyond a petroleum-based economy and
to encourage innovation, renewable energy, fuel-efficient cars, energy.
We will break the back of the energy crisis. We will lay
For all the talk about the energy of tomorrow, America is still powered by the energy of yesterday. 95% of our electricity comes from an aging network of coal, natural gas, nuclear, and hydroelectric plants. Despite decades of promise, today less than 5% of our electricity comes from all other forms of alternative energy combined.
As a scientist, I've asked myself, what is the most challenging problem that science and technology is going to solve in the coming decades? It's going to be sustainable energy. If we can't solve that, we've got a real problem.
Perhaps no one understands the problem better than Dr. Stephen Chu, a Nobel Prize-winning physicist and the U.S. Secretary of Energy.
To quench our thirst for oil, we're going to more and more challenging environments. It's going to drive the price up. It's going to have higher risks, environmental risks.
Secretary Chu sees the oil spill as a tragedy, of course, but also as something else.
I think it's an opportunity to say, look, let's look long term. Where do you want to go? Where do you want to be?
You think this oil spill is an opportunity?
The United States has an opportunity to lead in what I consider to be essentially a new industrial revolution.
Innovators and entrepreneurs are already pushing the envelope to come up with the energy of the future. Things like torpedo-shaped machines, which collect energy from wave motion. Turbines like these placed on the bottom of New York's East River, driven by the current.
I'm here in Las Cruces, New Mexico, where we're creating the future of energy.
And algae farms, which convert the fast-growing plant into diesel and jet fuel.
It is absolutely an engine for growth, for job creation, for all these things.
And the U.S. isn't too far behind already? Behind China, behind India?
We can catch up. But another 5 years of stalling, I'm a little bit afraid.
Increasingly, China is taking the lead, planning to spend $450 billion to develop alternative energy. But it was once the U.S. that was the pioneer.
We've been operating up here since 1960, so the geysers is coming up on 50 years of continuous geothermal power production.
California's Sonoma Valley is world famous for its vineyards, but beneath these hills, it's hardly tranquil. There's a huge natural reservoir of steam trapped deep below the surface.
We're using the heat of the earth. That's what the word geothermal means, is heat of the earth.
Mike Rogers is with the Calpine Corporation, which runs the geysers, the largest complex of geothermal plants in the world. In the hills north of San Francisco, wells 2 miles deep are drilled through bedrock, and 90 miles of pipes weave in and out of the mountains, carrying the natural steam to power the turbines.
In terms of size, the geysers provides enough power for about the city the size of San Francisco.
And it's clean energy. Calpine claims their plants emit just 1/20th of the pollution of a coal-fired plant. While geothermal plants are best suited to unique regions where the Earth's crust is thin, there's another resource in this country that's far more accessible: wind.
When we first started looking at this site, I mean, it was just basically cotton fields as far as the eye could see.
In the tiny West Texas town of Roscoe, where oil rigs once dotted the landscape, there's a new energy boom.
This is the biggest wind farm in the world. It encompasses more than 85,000 acres, and geographically it's bigger than the actual city of Manhattan.
Patrick Woodson's in charge of development for Eon Energy, There are 627 turbines in their wind farm. Each can power between 300 and 650 homes. From a distance, it's hard to appreciate just how enormous these turbines are. This one is 40 stories high, and the blades from tip to tip are nearly the length of a football field. The United States is the world leader in wind energy. And while it's still relatively expensive to produce, with new technology, costs are coming down.
We're just tapping into the very beginnings of the potential with wind. I mean, Texas gets about 7% of its energy from wind power. Nationally, we're less than 3%.
For wind being one of the biggest sources of renewable energy today, it's still only producing 3% of our energy. That's not much.
Well, it's not. We need a national policy to really give us some direction on where we're going to go.
But agreeing on a national energy policy won't be easy. Not everyone likes the idea of giant windmills or solar arrays dominating the horizon. Geothermal plants can cause minor earthquakes, and the coal and petroleum lobbies spend millions to protect the status quo.
You know, we've passed 3 energy bills in the last 10 years, and none of them has done a damn thing to get us a brighter energy future.
Fred Krupp heads the Environmental Defense Fund. He hopes that this fall the Senate will consider a landmark climate and energy bill, which could finally give alternative energy a fighting chance by setting tough pollution limits on power plants.
That simple requirement that pollution would come down dramatically over the years would be the biggest boost for renewable energy, because it creates a level playing field that says, however you produce electricity, we're going to require you to produce it without dumping the smut into the sky.
That level playing field is price. Forcing coal producers to clean up their plants will drive up costs, which in turn will bring alternative energy prices more in line. The bill is a priority for President Obama, who's visited a solar station in Florida.
These are jobs in the industries of the future.
A high-tech battery facility in Michigan, and recently taken a spin in a new car, one that has a lot riding on it. General Motors hopes that what's under the hood of this car is the future. This is the Chevrolet Volt, the first mass-market electric car ever produced in the United States.
These are packs for the Volt.
Andrew Farah is the chief engineer of the Volt, which hits showrooms in November. He hopes this electric car will finally take the edge off America's appetite for oil. How many miles to the gallon can I expect to get if I drive a Volt?
Well, that all depends on how far you drive every day. If you drive under 40 miles a day, you get unlimited or infinite miles per gallon.
That's because GM designed the Volt to get 40 miles on a single charge, based on government statistics that show nearly 80% of Americans drive fewer than 40 miles per day. And when the battery runs out, it automatically switches to gasoline. What do you say to people at home who think, my gosh, I've heard of this electric car business before, it never really took off?
What I say is, you heard about the electric car that was only able to do a very limited thing. And now with the Volt, you're going to hear about an electric car that can do everything that you're used to.
Silent, you don't hear a thing. Whether it's electric cars, wind or solar energy, while Washington debates, inventors and investors wait for a signal this country is really getting serious about clean, renewable energy.
Surely the world is going to demand clean sources of energy. We don't want to be stuck importing these devices just as we're now stuck importing most of the oil the country uses. That's our choice.